natin. Then when we have self-sufficient, okay. So when we have self-sufficiency, each component service may be developed, deployed, and operated and scaled in a microservice architecture. Yung microservice architecture we'll discuss more in our presentation for today. So having microservices is without affecting other services sa current system natin. So when it comes with monolith and microservices, there's very different application for service. And yung pinaka main goal ni microservice is that when you have different function or different services, pag nag-down yung isa, hindi maapektuhan yung iba. So that's what focus and self-sufficiency is. So here we have monolith versus microservice. So earlier, as I said, monolith and microservice is very different. When we say different, for example, you have a web application and yung mga services niya is within one Node.js API. So you have yung users data mo, yung threads mo, yung mga postings nila within one service. So pag nag-down yun, magda-down lahat. With microservices, we've divided the service in each service. So user data collections mo is in user service, yung threads mo na sa thread service, yung post mo na sa post service. And mag-down man yung isa, hindi maapektahan yung iba. So that's the main goal of microservices. Here we have now containers. So containers, AWS, we have different services. Later we'll discuss with Amazon Container Service, Amazon Kubernetes Service, and AWS Fargate. So for containers, yung concept ni containers is that software containers for application dependencies. So when it comes to container, yun yung software package that contains everything the software needs to run, yung system tools, libraries, and settings niya. So as long as we have the container managed, our application will be already running. So for containers, yung OS level virtualization shared kernel is popularized by Docker, which is yung Kubernetes or yung containerized services natin. For use cases, we have environments testing from local staging testing to production. And it is divided into small services and even smaller. Ang pinaka-small natin is nano size. So we could have that for containers. And yung mga AWS services na we'll be discussing in this presentation would be ECS, EKS, Kubernetes, AWS Fargate, and the use of Elastic Beanstalk, serverless Lambda, and a few additional Lightsail and AppRunner. So when we have containers, may mga challenges din. So containers, sprawl avoidance. When we say container sprawl avoidance, may mga companies or projects din kasi na they rather do it yung traditional way, yung monolith. Because pag container, kailangan perfectly ma-manage mo talaga yung mga services mo since there's a lot of services, a lot of security that you have to handle. When it comes to monolith, may isang service ka lang na i-handle or i-manage. So, yun yung mga avoidance ng ibang projects or ng ibang companies when it comes to containers. So, for common challenges then, we have version differences, ownership, tas bin packaging. So, since hiwa-hiwalay yung mga services natin or yung containers natin, we have to manage din yung mga versions nila efficiently kahit magkakahiwalay sila. So, magiging challenge siya when it comes to containers. And lastly, having zombie containers or disappearing containers. Since, yun nga, we have to fully manage yung mga containers natin, laging na-update, na-upgrade. May mga may iwan kung hindi natin siya i-add dun sa managed service natin. So that are some challenges that we have for containers, pero ang main goal lang talaga natin is having containers for highly available systems. So this is our first service, which is Amazon Elastic Container Registry. So for Amazon Elastic Container Registry, this is a fully managed Docker container registry where we store, manage, and deploy Docker images. So yung mga source code natin or yung mga i-build natin na code is nakasave dito sa ECR yung repository natin, which is registry. It is integrated with AWS IAM, provides resource level control of each repository, and it has security then, so it has image scanning which helps to identify software vulnerabilities. And yung payment or costing niya is you pay, data you store. So next service na we have is Amazon Elastic Container Service. So for managing yung pinaka-Docker containers natin, we have Amazon ECS, EKS, tsaka Fargate. So ito yung isa sa mga managed service that we have. So container management service for Docker is integrated with ECR, which is yung discuss natin kanina na nag-handle ng mga Docker images natin. So yung mga launch options for ECS is you could launch via cluster of EC2, including yung spot and reserved instances natin. And you could also use Fargate, which is serverless. We'll discuss later Fargate. Then monitor deployment of containers. It can schedule based containers, can scale up to thousands of instances, manage complete state of cluster. So how we manage is using auto-scaling groups. So if bago kayo sa AWS, ito yung makita natin na laging kasabay ni load balancing. So when ASG scales down, magre-redeploy siya ng bagong auto sa mga na-kill na instances. So having those tasks is more highly available pag may nag-down na instance. So it's good that we have auto-scaling groups. And another note here of other services for ECS is used to power services such as Amazon SageMaker, AWS Batch, Amazon Lex, and Amazon.com's recommendation engine. Okay, so since we discussed ECS, this is a short clip on introduction for ECS.
Containers deliver speed and agility for...
I'm sharing my sounds.
your business, but can require a lot of heavy lifting. Running complex container orchestration software, managing and upgrading the orchestration systems, having disjointed processes for hybrid environments, not to mention managing cost and security concerns. Your time and your developers' time is better spent focusing on projects to help grow your business. This is how Amazon Elastic Container Service can help. Amazon ECS is fully automated with no control plane to manage. And with ECS Anywhere, customers can work with containers in both a cloud and on-premises environments. Combining ECS on Fargate, customers don't have to manage hosts. No patching, upgrading, or maintenance overhead. ECS delivers security, cost control, and simplicity while removing the burden from your teams end to end. Innovate faster, reduce overhead, and spend more time deploying projects critical to your business growth. Build pipelines with agility and speed for networking, storage, and automated scheduling that scale automatically. ECS seamlessly integrates with other AWS services. If you know AWS, you know ECS, and teams can also run containers on compute services such as EC2, using the ECS fully managed control plane. Best of all, there is no additional charge for Amazon ECS. You only pay for the AWS resources you need to store and run your application. Get started with ECS today.
Okay, so that's Amazon ECS. Next, we go into another service for AWS.
Hi, my name is Srinath Kurdikar, and I'm a solutions architect on the Amazon.
We go into another service for containerized services, which is EKS, yung Kubernetes or KITS natin service. This is a fully managed Kubernetes service. Same ni ECS, yung two launch options niya is cluster of EC2 and Fargate, which is yung serverless. Then for deeply integrated with AWS service, we have monitoring tools like CloudWatch, auto-scaling groups, AWS IAM for the roles, and yung Amazon VPC for infra. So here, since EKS, it is an open source compared sa container service ni Amazon. So integrated with AWS App Mesh and provides a Kubernetes native experience. So open source, and the AWS App Mesh is actually an application level networking. So yung mga part ng ALB or end-to-end visibility natin sa application, yung pagka-high available. And certified Kubernetes conformat, yung standards ni Kubernetes is included, nag-leverage ng mga benefit ni open source tooling. So more on that here. Since we discussed yung ECR, ECS, tsaka EKS, how it does run, sample ng CI/CD niya most likely is with yung write code ni dev. Once na push yung package or na-write yung package as a code, as a Docker image, isi-save siya under ECR. So what we have here, isang directory or ECR repository that has encrypted images, yung mga code ni dev. And then we have definitions for version, tag, that's life cycle. So yung versioning natin is handled under ECR na. So if we plan to deploy version 2 for dev, QA, or production, we just have to call in the tag name or yung version niya. Then it will run on containers to pull the images and run containers either sa AWS Cloud, which is yung ECS container service natin, or Kubernetes service, or on-prem. So that's how ECR, ECS, and EKS works for containers. Now here, with containerized services, we also call containers as task. So what we mean by task is where you associate yung mga IAM role, mga task definition on your API operations, and magagamit to para sa mga AWS SDKs or CLI natin when it comes to API requests. So sample niya is here. We have 3 instances that runs with task. Here, we have 2 load balancing needs in task level containers and cluster level instances. So when it comes to task level containers and cluster level, is we have to add or remove ECS tasks, scale in and scale out policies, and publish metrics. So dun sa task level containers, we could use target groups, while sa cluster level, yung mga auto-scaling groups naman gagamitin natin for that. So here we could see mga task A, task B, task C under 2 instances. And yung pinaka-auto-scaling group is for the whole cluster. And then for our serverless container service is Amazon Fargate. So Amazon Fargate is the technology to run containers without having to manage servers or clusters. So kay Fargate, walang infra. Para ano na siya, serverless na talaga yung pinaka-structure niya. As we said here, removes the need to choose server types, decides when to scale your cluster, and optimize cluster packaging. And service supports is yung dalawang services kanina, which is container service and Kubernetes service. With serverless, version of containers could be Fargate for both ECS and EKS requirements for their cluster tsaka infrastructure. Here's a short clip on what AWS Fargate is.
Containers let you package your code so it can run anywhere. Before, you had to provision and manage servers, often requiring complex infrastructure to run your containers. With AWS Fargate, you can now run serverless containers, so you don't have to manage any servers. Fargate can quickly launch tens of thousands of containers and will seamlessly scale to meet your application's compute requirements. Live the Zen life and let Fargate take care of your containers so you can build powerful apps today. Learn more at aws.amazon.com/Fargate.
Okay. Let's continue. So we're done with containers. We go into serverless naman. So serverless compute, we have one example here which is Firecracker. So Firecracker is a VM environment specially built to run only the Linux kernel. Yan isa sa mga main features ni Firecracker. And it is a virtual machine monitor. I've highlighted a few key points na pwede natin ma-identify yung mga services. Forgot to i-share din pala sa group is that when I was reviewing for Solutions Architect Associate, ang main priority ko is to differentiate yung mga services. So since a while ago, we were discussing about container service, we were able to differentiate ano yung pagkakaiba ni ECS, container service, EKS, Kubernetes service, tas ni ECR. So it could be confusing yung mga acronyms niya, pero once na nalaman mo yung pinaka-purpose or function niya is dun mo mas masasagutan yung exam since may time limit yung exam and you have to score a certain point para to pass. So here again, Firecracker. So yung pinaka-main purpose niya is virtual machine monitor that uses the Linux kernel-based virtual machine or KVM. Ito yung mga nag-create and nag-manage ng mga micro VMs. So from VMs, nasa micro VMs tayo when it comes to Firecracker. So ito, launch lightweight micro VMs in non-virtualized environment. You can run AWS Firecracker on a local machine, and Firecracker is a VM monitor that manage Linux kernel-based VMs or KVM to create and manage micro VMs. Then we go to another service for serverless, which is Lambda. So ito yung feeling ko use ng lahat talaga is Lambda functions. Since automation sa mga items natin, pinaka agile o magagamit mo talaga siya sa web, mobile applications mo. So when it comes to Lambda function, you just have to upload code and auto-scale and provision the code capacity. So ito yung mga programming language that we could use. We could use Node.js, Java, C#, Python, Go, Ruby, and PowerShell. And Lambda is event-driven. So I think 2020 when I took my exam, isa sa mga questions natin ko is anong service yung may event-driven. So isa yun sa mga yung si event-driven, si Lambda. So you'll able to identify na talaga yung service na tamang sagot with trial and error. So remember that Lambda is event-driven. It can be triggered by different AWS services or ang madalas ginagamit is API Gateway. And then AWS Lambda provision concurrency to avoid cold start. Other previous would be 10,000 default safety throttle for number of concurrent execution. And you pay for the compute time you consume. So once na running lang siya, dun lang siya nag-run ng cost. Then we have Lambda at Edge. So I think at Edge is a term for AWS na kung ano yung pinakamalapit na location. So Lambda at Edge. So Lambda at Edge at an AWS Edge location closest to end users. Supports Node.js and Python. And yung AWS Lambda destinations natin would go on to provide visibility in Lambda function. So invocation ng routes, tag-execute ng results. AWS Lambda layers, a zip archive that contains libraries, a custom runtime, and other dependency. Lambda function to pull in additional code and content. So you could have different Lambda layers. I think may chart later that would see different or orchestrated Lambda. Then AWS Lambda event filter. So you could filter events before invoking and saving costs. So depende sa event na i-identify mo, may it be SNS, may API Gateway, or others. And it is EFS supported file system and has AWS Lambda container. So here, a few screenshots ng mga limitation ni Lambda. So yung function timeout, I think you could review this in your own time then. Asynchronous, synchronous, mga limitation, ano pa dito? Function timeout 15 minutes. Ito pa, other limitation would be invocation payload, deployment package size, yung temp directory storage, tas yung process and threads. So here yung example on how Lambda works, kung paano natitrigger event. So mga event trigger na pwede natin gamitin is SNS, notification, S3 bucket, kung may image ka, may biglang na-upload na image, pwede ma-trigger yung Lambda, SES, CloudFormation, CloudWatch, yung logs natin for monitoring, Event Bridge, which is an event trigger lang din, code commit, mga commit changes ni dev, AWS code configs. And then once the trigger, si Lambda, it will run your code na develop mo, or kung yung code mo is saying na you'll need to run under Lambda, pag ito yung na-trigger na event, it will run that function. Maybe pag na-receive yung picture, magsasend ng notification na thank you for sending your photo, received it, parang ganun. Or you will have to process it in SQS or another event bridge. So let's see more on.
When you're building applications, you want them to deliver a great experience for your users. Maybe you want your application to generate in-app purchase options during a gaming session, rapidly validate street address updates, or make image thumbnails available instantly after a user uploads photos. To make this magic happen, your application needs back-end code that runs in response to events like image uploads, in-app activity, website clicks, or sensor outputs. But managing the infrastructure to host and execute back-end code requires you to size, provision, and scale a bunch of servers, manage operating system updates, apply security patches, and then monitor all this infrastructure for performance and availability. Wouldn't it be nice if you could just focus on building great applications without having to spend lots of time managing servers? Introducing AWS Lambda. AWS Lambda is a compute service that runs your backend code in response to events such as object uploads to Amazon S3 buckets, updates to Amazon DynamoDB tables, data in Amazon Kinesis streams, or in-app activity. Once you upload your code to Lambda, the service handles all the capacity, scaling, patching, and administration of the infrastructure to run your code and provides visibility into performance by publishing real-time metrics and logs to Amazon CloudWatch. All you need to do is write the code. AWS Lambda is very low cost and does not require any upfront investment. When you use AWS Lambda, you're simply charged a low fee per request and for the time your code runs, measured in increments of 100 milliseconds. Getting started with AWS Lambda is easy. There are no new languages, tools, or frameworks to learn. You can use any third-party library, even native ones. The code you run on AWS Lambda is called a Lambda function. You just upload your code as a zip file, or design it in the integrated development environment in the AWS Management Console. Or you can select from a list of function samples pre-built for common use cases such as image conversion, file compression, and change notifications. And built-in support for the AWS SDK makes it easy to call other AWS services. Once your function is loaded, you select the event source to monitor, such as an Amazon S3 bucket or Amazon DynamoDB table, and within a few seconds, Lambda will be ready to trigger your function automatically when an event occurs. With Lambda, any event can trigger your function, making it easy to build applications that respond quickly to new information. To learn more about AWS Lambda, visit our website and you can get your first Lambda function up and running with a few clicks in the AWS Management Console. And with the AWS free tier, you can try Lambda for free.
Okay, AWS Lambda. Move on to the next. So here is an example nung na-bring up nga na pre-builds ni AWS Lambda. So resizing image upon upload in S3. So yung pinaka-event natin is waiting for S3 to have a new image uploaded to its bucket. So once na-upload yung image, Lambda will be triggered, and yung Lambda function will run the code that you have to resize the image. And once done, either yung next action mo is to upload the new resized image to another S3 bucket, or pwedeng you could put it as log sa DynamoDB na the new URL for the image is this. So that's the whole process of Lambda. So we're on automation talaga when it comes to Lambda functions. And here's another one, having fleets of Lambda. So since you have a common bucket, so nagpa-pile up, for example, production. So production, you could have thousands, 100,000 of logs per minute, and mag-archive ng lahat ng queues mo sa mga request na yun under work queue, and you need maybe 3 Lambda functions to handle all those queues. So to handle all those queues. So once na ma-process nila lahat, for example, ang nandito 9, so tig 3 sila magpo-process. Once done, it will then have the metrics to encounter for CloudWatch yung logs natin. So this is another example of having a lot of Lambda function or fleets of Lambda that we have to process yung mga queuing. Okay, so we're done with Lambda. Let's go into AWS API Gateway. So most used API Gateway sa mga Lambda functions din natin to trigger Lambda. Pero let's start with its definition. So API Gateway is a fully managed service to create, publish, maintain, monitor, and secure APIs. So it could be regional or edge deployments. It is the front door for application, may it be for RESTful APIs, HTTP API, WebSocket APIs. And yung targets niya would be Amazon EC2, AWS Lambda, and any web application. So for traffic management, core support, authorization and access control, throttling, monitoring, API version management, you could use API Gateway. So here are some fun facts ni API Gateway that you may encounter sa exam is request timeout niya 29 seconds, throttling limits. Example, for example, may 10,000 requests ka and yung limit only handles 5,000. So you have to serve 5,000 requests at a time, and yung throttle the rest in another second period. So siguro 2 beses mo siya ipaprocess, parang gano'n. Then we have API Gateway cache. We have a caching topic later then that we could discuss this API Gateway cache. It is attached to API Gateway, and then prevents exposing endpoints. So secured ng service siya since AWS prevents yung DDoS attack, DDoS protection with Shield, tsaka WAF. And yung cost niya is you pay for the API calls you receive and the amount of data transferred out. So here is an example of an API method that we have. So for example, si client nag-request, it is a get method. Then we have this method request na i-check niya yung URI. So ang URI ko here is get my dash source resource, and naka-define doon kung ano yung next na action niya. So as defined, ang next na action niya is Lambda kay my resource. So we trigger Lambda, and then yung pinaka-Lambda integration request na to will trigger the function. So ang function, Lambda function na na-create here is my function 2. So kung ito yung sa kanina na nagpa-process ng resize, so nire-resize na niya yung image, yung code. Then once done, it will return a response, integrate a response, and yung pinaka-response may be HTTP status 200, which is successful, or yung 4xx, 5xx na pwedeng not found, or may nag-server na nag-fail, or inaccessible yung S3, yung mga ganun. Okay. So here is another diagram ng API Gateway and Lambda. So yung application mo, nagtuthrow ng request, access API. And then yung gateway ng API is directing yung URL to Lambda. And once na-run mo yung Lambda function, magre-return ng response si Lambda. And then, babalik lang din sa user yung response. So we're done with AWS Lambda, AWS API Gateway. Next serverless natin is AWS Step Functions. So with AWS Step Functions, you coordinate multiple AWS service into serverless workflows. And you could use together services like AWS Lambda, AWS Fargate, Amazon SageMaker. So si Step Functions, for me, ang main na ginagawa ni Step Functions is parang workflow. I think may diagram later for Step Functions. Then, state machine diagram, workflows. Workflows are made up of series of steps. So you will define it para sa mga step functions natin. Then output one step acting as input into the next. It has visual workflows, which is may use case workflows later. Automatically triggers and track each step. So may pwede tayong i-add na monitoring or next actions. And simple error catching and logging if a step fails. So with step functions, it has a try-catch pattern na yung pinaka-service. So it will be really helpful when we have automations or yung mga items na we like to put in a whole workflow. Then for state languages, it has JSON files and you have these different states, yung task states, choice state, yung yes or no, parang ganon, fail states, tsaka may successful states din or response. Okay, ito. So states types, supported by step function, yung task nga, a single unit of work, so yung action, passes its input to its output, parallel, fork and join the data across tasks, so a multiple task, choices, adds branching logic. So, pwede yung magkaroon tayo ng isang path na right or wrong, parang ganon, na may ibang branch na mag-grow through or dev or prod, parang ganon. Then map, arrays of set of steps for each element of an input array. So may array included. Then wait, so yung delay lang if you need to wait for it to complete. Fail, stops an execution and marks it as failure. Succeeded, stops an execution successfully. So here yung step function natin na workflow on how we define it. So definition, code is pre-configured by chosen template. In define using JSON-based. So nakikita natin JSON to, and ito yung pinaka-workflow na mag-run niya. So let's read through lang yung pinaka-definition niya. So you have a service for DynamoDB and SQS. So DynamoDB is a database. So here, see the DynamoDB table, and you have a condition yung sa branching niya na for loop. So once na maka-receive ka ng either isang row sa DynamoDB, pwedeng iyon yung event trigger mo. Read niya yung message sa DynamoDB, tapos isasend niya yung message sa SQS para naka-order siya, and pop. So element from the list. So ito siya. Pop element from the list. And then pass. So ulit siya hanggang either ma-empty out or matapos mo yung mga bagong rows na ma-add sa DynamoDB. Tapos succeed, end. So yun yung step function. So ito may dalawang service lang, DynamoDB tas SQS, pero pwede ka mag-add ng iba pang services. Visual workflow. So ito is succeeded. At nag-green na naman lahat. Same nung discuss natin kanina na tas yung mga functions na success, failed, canceled, in progress. So we can monitor it. And ito yung execution details. So for step functions, we have audit trails. Tapos yung details nung mga execution niya. So here, progress, execution details, input, output, and other step details kung kailan siya start. So makita natin yung buong flow niya or mga na-run niya before. Okay, let's watch a short clip about step functions.
Hi, my name is Andy Katz. I'm here to introduce AWS Step Functions, a service from AWS that makes it easy to coordinate the components of distributed applications and microservices using visual workflows. Microservices are processes that communicate with each other over a network to complete a larger goal. Applications built as a collection of microservices are more resilient and easier to scale. A very simple microservice, even serverless in this case, can be deployed with an AWS Lambda function. And you can do a lot with just one Lambda function. Sometimes, however, your application requires more than one function. There are many combinations and patterns of 2 or 3 functions. For example, you may want a second function to always follow a first and only run if and when the first succeeds. You may want to execute 2 functions in parallel and feed the combined results into a third. Or maybe you would like to choose between 2 functions based on the output of a first function. You could write a lot of code to choreograph the interaction of your microservices, or you could use AWS Step Functions to coordinate your workflows. It's easy to get started with step functions. You declaratively define your workflows in the form of a state machine. Step Function visualizes your workflow, including tasks performed in sequence or in parallel, branching logic based on task results or other input, and timers. Step Functions manages each execution, keeping track of each step in a central audit trail, and managing task timeouts, retries, and error messages with built-in try, catch, finally patterns. Some examples of the kinds of repetitive processes that you can reliably automate with Step Functions include active synchronization of 2 Amazon S3 buckets, requesting a human approval by email and waiting till the authorized person responds before continuing with the workflow, image processing of photos, creating a thumbnail, and tagging image features using Amazon recognition in parallel. Step Functions helps increase your productive time spent on business logic instead of plumbing, makes your applications more agile, and provides resilience at scale. Learn more about AWS Step Functions by visiting our console today.
Okay, so functions, let's continue. So we're done with Lambda, API Gateway, Step Functions. Our last service for serverless would be Event Page. So with AWS Event Page, this is a fully managed and scalable event bus. Serverless, fully managed and scalable event bus. It has events, rules, and filtering. And for API destination, it sends events back to many on-prem or software as a service application with the ability to control throughput and authentication. So for my definition, events, since event triggered siya, and it archives and replays events, custom events, and has also a JSON structure. So I think we have a few items pakita din for event page here. So for explanation, this is yung event producer natin. So once na-trigger yung event, we have that available event. Ma-identify siya ni event page, event bus, and we have the rules. So yung na-discuss natin rules kanina, pwedeng i-rule niya na pag gantong type ng event, ang i-run niya is AWS Lambda. Pag ganito, Kinesis or yung SNS, send lang siya notification. So that's the type of rules that we have for event page. Tapos yung mga software service na pwede natin i-run with AWS. More video explainer. Hindi ko sure kung i-ano pa natin to. I think this is a long video. Check natin. Sige.
Well, events are central to EventBridge, and events are observable and not directed. The previous tightly coupled APIs used directed commands, whereas an event-driven approach is observable. What's the difference? Well, in a command model, each command is explicitly issued to a specific recipient. So here, the person on the left says, please create an invoice, and the person on the right hears that and takes action. Events, on the other hand, are merely observable by other systems. So in this case, the person on the left says, customer X just ordered a widget. A person at the back hears that and says, I will add that to a sales report. Another person hears it and decides to add it to an invoice. And two other people hear it but take no action. The benefits of this are that event producers don't need to have any knowledge about who's listening to these events. And this keeps them simple. It allows other services to consume events without needing upstream changes. That's great, but how do we actually implement all of this? How do we pass information from the order service to all these downstream systems without calling them directly? Well, for that, we need an event bus. This provides an endpoint where an event producer can send events. The router manages directing and filtering those events to the appropriate downstream consumers. Consumers can get the events they care about reliably, while the producers remain decoupled. So our architecture now looks like this. The order service sends events to the bus, which is configured with rules that determine which downstream systems get the event. Now, some targets will care about only certain events, while others will want to see all the events. Either way, the router now takes on the complexity of ensuring that these events get propagated appropriately to each downstream service. Back in our example with an event bus decoupling the architecture, it looks similar, but now if the fulfillment service has an error, it simply raises an error event. This is caught by other services that are listening and can take action accordingly. And in the other problem example, where a reward service is added, for another team to consume some order service events, they simply add a new rule to the bus. There's no need to wait on the order service team to make an update for them. Now service teams can act much more independently and move faster. This is Amazon EventBridge. It's a serverless event bus service. It helps you ingest and route events from SaaS applications, AWS services, and your own systems. Some of the notable features include the fact that it's serverless, so there's no infrastructure to manage or provision. Scaling is handled for you, and you only pay for what you use. It offers native integrations with 21 SaaS providers with more to come. Traffic travels internally within AWS infrastructure when you work with SaaS providers instead of on the public internet. It integrates with over 90 AWS services as sources and 17 services as targets. And it costs $1 per million events. There's no charge for events sourced from AWS services or for the delivery of events. So I've covered a few of the common challenges in managing distributed systems of microservices. EventBridge can help to make sure that your application remains decoupled. APIs and webhook mechanisms tend to lock you into a more rigid, monolithic state, even in separate services. An event bus can help keep these services decoupled, even as your systems become more complex, and as new versions of your services are launched. It provides simplified event routing. The happy path works well, but handling error states can be difficult to orchestrate. An event bus can help manage errors across multiple workflows and ensure that services remain simple, only listening to events that they care about, and only being responsible for creating events. EventBridge can also improve availability. In synchronous APIs, the availability of the entire system can be impacted by the failure of any single service. Moving towards an asynchronous infrastructure based around events allows more resilience, and with the right architecture design, can improve availability. Finally, third-party integration is available. Instead of using polling or webhooks, you can ingest data seamlessly and in near real time using events. EventBridge offers SaaS integrations with a growing number of providers that can treat new data in these systems as events. EventBridge is designed to help you address some of the common architectural pitfalls of distributed systems, and also help simplify your serverless systems architecture. To learn more, visit aws.amazon.com/EventBridge. Thanks for joining me for this brief overview. Happy coding.
Okay, so that's EventBridge, which is our last serverless service for today. We move on to our last theme for this module, caching. So for caching, we have 4 services to discuss. We have first to run what caching is. So yung possible data flow niya. So when it comes to requests, users, mobile application, web application have requests either, for example, getting information from Wikipedia or getting an image from Google. So the request to get those web contents from an application will still have to go into the database, lalo na pag bago siya. When it comes to caching, yung cache is naiiwan na sa application level. So for example, ang lagi mong kinogoogle is what is AWS S3 or what is AWS Lambda. So once na yung unang search mo sa kanya is nag-run sa database, pwede magkaroon ng service na will have the cache already in the application since static. So when caching, we only have static items na available. For example, images, JSON, JavaScript. So mga static items lang. So rather than going hanggang database, yung flow natin, it will only go until the application. So when to cache? We cache when slow and expensive data to retrieve. When you have data na malaking storage and magastos pag lagi siyang nire-request ni user. To cache frequently access data that is static. So as discussed, yung mga images, JavaScript, JSON na static. Since light lang siya. Then non-personalized data. Since for everyone or unified information. And allow still data. So yung mga hindi masyado na-update. So here, our first service for caching is Amazon CloudFront. So AWS Content Delivery Network si Amazon CloudFront, delivery ng mga multimedia natin, assets natin to stream for servers. It is geographically close to your users. So lagi yung pinakamalapit na edge location yung hinahanap niya. So we have more than 200 plus edge locations sa Asia, US, Europe, South America, and Australia. And again, Amazon CloudFront is AWS backbone network. So with Amazon CloudFront, using CloudFront geo restriction, you could whitelist or yung mga approved countries na you could get information from, blacklist banned countries. You also have using a third-party geo IP database with overall accuracy of 99.8. So yung pinaka-malapit na services or database third-party that you could have. Then create custom errors for HTTP 4XX and 5XX error response. So you could add that sa response niyo kung how it will trigger yung response pag nag-fail or error messages. By default, if no cache control header is set, ang magiging control header niya would be 24 hours default. For invalidation API to remove the object from all Amazon CloudFront edge location, and it is also has built-in reporting for cache statistics, yung popular objects, top referrers, usage, tsaka views. So, very useful sa mga videos, mga streaming platforms. So, here is a diagram of how CloudFront works. So, with CloudFront, check ko nga kung nakawad yung mic ko mamaya hindi. Okay. So, with CloudFront, we have user. Tapos yung mga request sila, for example, ni kanina, yung pag-search lang sa what is AWS, ganun, sa Wikipedia. So, i-search niya, and it will go into the nearest edge location. If hindi pa siya na-search before, it will check the database or kung saan mo siya ma-retrieve, which is, ito, sample is Amazon S3 server or yung HTTP server. Tapos, once available na yon kay edge location, next time na i-request mo siya, sa edge location na lang siya mag-check. Nagkakaroon na ng sariling caching. And we have other caching namang services na mas mapapabilis yung pag-get mo ng information, rapid response dun sa pinaka-services natin. Okay, so here is a sample ng views natin with CloudFront. So, other than yung details ng start date and date tsaka countries, yung location trends makita natin. For example, here, we have threads for US tsaka Philippines. So, makita mo kung ano yung most used, yung mga ganong items for charts and reporting. So, here, short video for CloudFront.
Introducing Amazon CloudFront, a fast, highly secure, and programmable content delivery network service. With CloudFront, you can deliver your content and applications to millions of users at scale. You can deliver both static and dynamic content. CloudFront has a worldwide network of data centers called edge locations and is integrated with AWS at physical locations directly connected to the expanding AWS global infrastructure. You can use either an AWS origin or your own custom origin server. CloudFront helps you deliver content securely to your customers. You can encrypt your communications with a free custom TLS certificate from Amazon Certificate Manager, or you can import your own certificate. You also get DDoS protection with AWS Shield Standard by default. You receive comprehensive availability protection against all known Layer 3 and 4 network attacks. AWS Shield provides always-on detection and automatic inline mitigations that minimize application downtime and latency. CloudFront also integrates seamlessly with AWS WAF for application layer protection. CloudFront's infrastructure and processes are all compliant with a wide range of standards to ensure delivery of the most sensitive data. With the Lambda at Edge feature, you can run complex application logic closer to your customers. CloudFront and Lambda at Edge automatically scale and replicate your application logic globally without you having to scale your own origin infrastructure. You can go serverless and offer dynamic, highly personalized web applications with Lambda at Edge. Using CloudFront makes financial sense. Data transfer out from other AWS origins to CloudFront is free. CloudFront accelerates and protects many types of traffic, all under the same pricing structure. And with Amazon CloudFront's pay-as-you-go pricing model, you pay for only what you use. You can get started with Amazon CloudFront for free.
Amazon CloudFront. So next, we're done with Amazon CloudFront. We now go to ElastiCache. So with ElastiCache, it is a cloud open source compatible in-memory data stores. Yung use cases like caching, session stores, gaming, geospatial service, real-time analytics, and queuing. So we offload common and frequent requested database inquiries, and yung mga fully managed engines natin would be with Redis and Memcache. For costings, it is paid on node hours. So here yung engines natin when it comes to ElastiCache. Memcache for multi-threading. It has more CPU cores. It is low maintenance, easy horizontal scalability with auto-discovery. And for Redis, we have single threading, support for data structures. It is persistent, atomic operation. It has publish and subscribe messaging, read replicas and failover, and yung cluster mode and sharded clusters. So when it comes to storing data with Redis and Memcache, ang main difference niya is with Redis, it stores data as specific data types. Pero kay Memcache, it only stores data as string. So dahil doon, yung Redis can change data in place without having to re-upload entire data value. So Redis reduces network overhead. So yun yung isa sa mga key differences ni Memcache and ni Redis. So here we have an example of how we cache and hit and miss. So for example, caching, when the data is already available kay ElastiCache, so hanggang Amazon ElastiCache na lang siya kukuha ng information or magpa-process. While for cache miss, if wala ditong available kay ElastiCache, it still has to go into the database. And once available na yung information kay database, mas-save na siya kay ElastiCache. So sa next na request, we'll have the information in ElastiCache. So what is lazy loading? So lazy loading, since lazy loading nga, yung strategy siya ni caching that loads data pag kailangan mo lang. So for example, yung application, nilaload lang niya data pag nire-request siya nung application o ni user. So ito, there's a lot of questions. Do you have the key for this? I couldn't find it. The value for key is value. So masave na niya yung caching or yung information na key is value. So next na request niya is available na yung key kay value. Key na, well, yung response, it's value na for caching. So lazy loading, remember lang na it loads data into cache only when necessary. Okay. Then we have another caching strategy, which is yung read through and write through. So this is where the application treats cache as the main data store and reads data from it and writes data to it. So yung example natin dito is we could data add and data update from the database, and if available na si Elasticache na, doon na tayo mag-add and update. The cache is responsible for reading and writing this data to the database, and thereby yung application's responsibility na yung yung update nung read-write natin for the database. So yun yung strategy for this. Okay, so a short video regarding Elasticache.
Users love fast applications. This means applications need to access data quickly. And as applications become popular, they must scale without overloading back-end systems. Caching can help. With an in-memory cache, you can achieve sub-millisecond response times, manage spikes in demand, and cost-effectively scale your backend. Memcached is a popular open-source in-memory data store that developers use as a high-performance cache to speed up applications. By storing everything in memory instead of on disk, Memcached can retrieve data in less than a millisecond. Memcached is a key value store. It works by keeping a key for every piece of data it stores. This key uniquely identifies each record and lets Memcached quickly find it. But deploying, maintaining, and scaling Memcached can be challenging. Amazon Elasticache for Memcached is a fully managed Memcached service that simplifies administrative tasks so you can focus on high-value application development. It is Memcached compatible, so your existing Memcached applications work seamlessly without changes. Elasticache for Memcached supports Amazon Virtual Private Cloud, helping you keep your data isolated and secure. Elasticache for Memcached features auto-discovery, which helps developers save time by simplifying the way an application connects to a cluster. It is easy to scale your Elasticache cluster to handle more data and operations. Since Memcached distributes its data among available nodes, you can store more data by adding new nodes. And since Memcached makes use of multiple processing cores, you can handle more operations by adding compute capacity. Start small and adjust to meet fluctuating demand. Amazon Elasticache from Memcached gives you the ability to quickly deploy and cost-effectively manage Memcached clusters to power the most demanding real-time applications. Get started today.
Okay. So we're done with Elasticache. So we'll move on to our last two services for caching. So Amazon DynamoDB Accelerator or DAX. I think this is one of the questions na nag-pop up last time na yung nag-exam ako for SAA. And ang pinaka-main question or yung nasagot ko talaga sa kanya is, alam ko na may caching si DynamoDB. So, which is yung accelerator. DynamoDB plus DAX is, it has microseconds per million per seconds for caching upon up to 10 node cluster. So, ang main priority DAX is fully managed in-memory cache siya ni DynamoDB that runs in a cluster. And it's flexible provision. So one DAX cluster for multiple DynamoDB tables, or you could also have multiple DAX cluster for a single DynamoDB table. I know may mga ganitong questions din when it comes to SAA na either ano dito yung true or ano yung false na pwede bang multiple DAX cluster sa single DynamoDB table or pwede bang one DAX cluster sa multiple. So dapat on point talaga tayo sa mga items na ganito. And it also can have combination. So yung mga provisions natin when it comes to DAX. So as mentioned kanina nung caching strategy natin, so DAX has read-through and write-through strategy for caching. So yung main priority lang talaga is tinitreat ng application natin na ang main caching, ang main data store is yung cache. So si DAX. So kaysa pumunta pa siya sa database or yung DynamoDB table, lahat ng information, i-check muna niya kay DAX. And if not available, it will go to the database. And it will also save yung DAX na caching natin. For next time, sa DAX na lang siya titingin. So that's how the read-through, write-through strategy goes for DynamoDB DAX. Okay, our last service for caching is AWS API Gateway Cache. So a while ago, we're talking about serverless Lambda API Gateway. So we have caching for API Gateway. So API Gateway Cache, when you enable caching, you must choose a cache capacity. In general, a larger capacity gives better performance, but also costs more. So with API Gateway caching, larger capacity costs more. Then API Gateway enables caching by creating a dedicated cache instance. This process can take up to 4 minutes. And with API Gateway caching, may time to live period. And then last item natin for API Gateway would be API Gateway changes caching capacity by removing the existing cache instance and creating a new one with modified capacity. So kung kailangan natin increase yung capacity, it will create a new instance and all existing cache data is deleted. Okay, so that's it for our module 8, which is microservices, serverless, and caching. Does anyone have any questions? Check natin yung from Michael Legos. So related po sa container service, medyo confused. What po main difference ni EKS and ECS? So check natin sa slide kanina. Yung pinaka main difference for me yung nakita ko since gumagamit kami ng EKS dun sa web application namin. Medyo malayo pala. So marami silang similarities dun sa launch options nila. Pero ang main difference is kay Kubernetes, may certain open source tool siya which is yung Kubernetes nga na ginagamit natin. So ang pagkakaiba niya since Docker, di ba, yung mga commands na ginagamit natin, Docker, create groups, ganon, tapos start, stop. Pero kay Kubernetes, kubectl. So may difference talaga siya when it comes to managing yung system. And then another item na since si EKS open source, we have to have our own monitoring, lalo na pag maraming application services. So you could do is spawn up a Prometheus pod para mag-handle ng mga logs mo. So open source, so you really have to review yung mga standards or yung Kubernetes formats or open source tooling niya. So I hope that answered your question, Michael or Mike. Thank you. Do anyone have any questions pa? Tahimik. mag 5 minutes break ba tayo, Miss Chel, since may isa pa tayong module or arangkada na?
Sige, we can have like 5 minutes break. So we'll come back around it's 4:08 on my end. So we can come back mga 4:13 or 4:15 at the most, if that's okay with everyone. Let's have water break. Let's have coffee break, CR break, and all.
CR break.
All right,
Okay.
4:15. See you. Okay, can we play videos muna while we're waiting for everyone to come back? Thank you.
Trust AWS to power their infrastructure and applications. Organizations of every type and size are using AWS to lower costs, become more agile, and innovate faster. AWS provides on-demand delivery of technology services via the internet with pay-as-you-go pricing. You can use these services to build and run virtually any type of application without upfront costs or ongoing commitments. You only pay for what you use. AWS gives you more services and more features within those services than any other cloud provider. This makes it faster, easier, and more cost-effective to move your existing applications to the cloud and to build anything you can imagine. From infrastructure technologies like compute, storage, and databases, to emerging technologies such as machine learning and artificial intelligence, data lakes and analytics, and Internet of Things. Building on AWS means you can choose the right tool for the job. For example, AWS offers the widest variety of databases that are purpose-built for different types of applications. With AWS, you can leverage the latest technologies to experiment and innovate more quickly. We are continually accelerating our pace of innovation to invent entirely new technologies you can use to transform your business. Like pioneering the serverless computing space with the launch of AWS Lambda, which lets developers run their code without provisioning or managing servers. And AWS built Amazon SageMaker, a fully managed machine learning service that empowers everyday developers and scientists to use machine learning without any previous experience. We are constantly expanding our global network of AWS regions, so you can access AWS services to build and run your applications from anywhere in the world. Each of these regions has multiple availability zones that are physically separated from each other and connected by low latency, high throughput, and highly redundant networking. This makes it easy to design and operate applications that are scalable, fault tolerant, and highly available. Our infrastructure is built to satisfy the security standards of the most risk-sensitive organizations. You also have access to the AWS Partner Network, which has thousands of systems integrators who specialize in AWS services, and tens of thousands of independent software vendors who adapt their technology to work on AWS. With the largest community of customers across every industry, AWS has unmatched experience and operational expertise you can depend upon for your most important applications in every imaginable use case. Cloud computing is the on-demand delivery of IT resources via the internet with pay-as-you-go pricing. Instead of buying, owning, and maintaining physical data centers and servers, you can access technology services such as computing power, storage, and databases on an as-needed basis from a cloud provider like Amazon Web Services. Organizations of every type, size, and industry are using the cloud for a wide variety of use cases, such as data backup, disaster recovery, email, virtual desktops, software development and testing, big data analytics, and customer-facing web applications. For example, healthcare companies are using the cloud to develop more personalized treatments for patients. Financial services companies are using the cloud to power real-time fraud detection and prevention. And video game makers are using the cloud to deliver online games to millions of players around the world. With cloud computing, your business can become more agile, reduce costs, instantly scale, and deploy globally in minutes. Cloud computing gives you instant access to a broad range of technologies so you can innovate faster and build nearly anything you can imagine. From infrastructure services such as compute, storage, and databases, to Internet of Things, machine learning, data analytics, and much more in a matter of minutes, and get from idea to implementation several orders of magnitude faster than before.
Okay, I guess we're back. Screen. Here's. Okay. Let's wait for 4:15. Sure natin everyone's here. Okay, 4:15. So let's start. So here, our last module for today is module 9, which is deployment, backup, and others. So for deployments, we will discuss yung mga strategy ng deployment. So here we have blue-green deployments. So sa diagram, we could see may blue environment, green environment. The blue environment is yung live environment natin sa production where users are connected in. And yung green environment is our test environment, which is a pending deployment. Na isi-switch natin when we are ready for that release. So we have two environments with the blue, one currently live in production. Our goal is to transition users over to the green one in a gradually controlled fashion. And if the validation test on the green environment fails before you start sending traffic, you can dispose of the environment without ever having affected the production or the blue environment. So yun yung benefit with blue-green deployment. You have two identical production environments to run tests and reliable software upgrades. So once ready, you could switch traffic, maybe sa router, load balancer, reverse proxy, tsaka web server. So our blue-green deployment. So other very interchangeable na deployment types or strategy natin is blue-green, canary, tsaka yung AB. So as discussed earlier, blue-green, yung deployment natin is from 0 to 100 since we will only be switching over to a new route, which is yung green for our pending deployment. So it is simple, fast, well understood, and easy to implement. And yung rollback is very straightforward. You just have to switch back dun sa blue environment mo. So then what is canary and AB? So canary, yung deployment is weighted phases. So ang difference ni canary at ni AB is it is for testing or experiments. So kay canary, we have weighted phases. So katulad ng blue-green deployment, iba may dalawang identical na environments. So for canary, you have to create a new environment, parang ganon. And yung testing niya is depending on users' approval. So test in production with real users and use cases and compare different services. So very similar sa mga rolling updates natin where we have to spin up new release environment. And yung pinaka-testing dun sa pending environment natin is yung magiging tell-all kung we are ready to configure yung load balancer to send only percentage of the traffic to the new release version. So yung tinetest natin pwedeng 2% muna, 25% muna, 75% hanggang ma-complete na natin 100%. Nakapag ano na siya, direct ng traffic to the new deployment. So that's canary. So may percentage weighted phases. And yung AB naman, it is actually a type of canary deployment. So mostly use siya ng mga features. So when we have new features sa application natin, yung mga rollout features, doon natin siya fino-focus on that deployment. So as we can see, weighted shift naman siya, and primary focus on experimentation and exploration. Same service run simultaneously as experiments. So very interchangeable yung mga items natin here. Pero remember natin na blue-green, 0 to 100 yung deployment. Canary AB may weighted, pero ang main difference niya is si AB, hindi siya full deployment. Parang may features lang siya. So we could say na feature or rollout features to experiment. So experiment, tapos yung weighted phases, and 0 to 100 deployments. So here we have diagram ng blue-green deployment natin with Route 53. So here, ang blue na environment natin is at the left, kung saan pointed currently in production. And then, let me read. Old environment continues to serve the traffic during deployments on the closed environment. So in case of failure, it will not be affected. So while you have a pending deployment, matetest mo yung mga features, hindi maapektuhan sa production since nasa blue environment siya and we're only testing in green. So deployments are run on the cloned environments. Yung mga new changes are run in the cloned environments. And once ready, switch over lang natin yung Route 53 graphics natin to the green deployment. Okay. So here we have same environment deployment methods. Short naman natin discuss yung mga services. So aside from multi-environment, meron tayong same environment deployment. So difference niya is multi-environment, you have DNS changes. Same environment, you have to launch config, launch templates, and then yung services na gamit din is different. So for multi-environment, we could use infrastructure as code. Ito yung mga services like CloudFormation, CDK, and for same environment, we have AMI, CI/CD, build artifacts. CI/CD we'll discuss later in this presentation as well. So next natin is deployment modes. So we have 4 deployment modes. This all focuses on Elastic Beanstalk. So another AWS service is Elastic Beanstalk for deployment. So here we have all at once. Ito yung siguro nakakatakot na deployment. Since all at once means ang process mo is, okay, may product, wala sa production, dev environment. May dev environment ka, tapos ito yung mga running instance mo na na-access ni user. So, para mag-deploy mo yung all at once, you have to stop all instances ng mga V1 na deployment and then start new instances for V2. So, this has downtime. Yan yung important factor ng deployment method na tong all at once. May downtime siya, pero quick deployments, pinaka-preferred siya for dev environment since ang dev environment, si dev test lang nag-test sa dev environment, diba? So, we push code, we deploy code, and they test code. So, yun. Dev environment for all at once. Then we have 3 more strategies. So, rolling. Kay rolling naman, it is a longer deployment since a while ago, nag-stop lang tayo, nag-spawn tayo ng bagong V2 deployments. ready na siya. Ito, different. Since rolling, you have to update each instances. So, for example, here, we have 3 instances, all in production example. And pag-update niya, mag-run siya at per instance. So, i-update niya muna yung first, si instance 1. Then, pag ready na, i-switch niya yung 1 and 2, doon na siya naka-route ng traffic. And then, i-update naman niya yung instance 2. So, isa-isa niyang i-update hanggang ma-update fully yung buong instance natin or yung buong environment natin for rolling. So, what is good with rolling? Yung application natin running at full capacity. So, may 3 instance tayo, walang nag-down. It has small additional, actually, no additional cost since wala naman tayong in-spawn na bagong instance. No additional cost. And yung ano lang niya is longer deployment since 1 by 1 mo siyang i-handle. So yung batch natin is pwede din 2 by 2 or depending sa preferred size no rolling update mo. So that's rolling. Yung next naman natin is rolling with additional batch. So rolling with additional batch, dito mag-inquire na tayo ng cost pero no downtime pa rin. So what we did here is, di ba may 3 instance nga tayo currently in production. We created a new instance na may version 2 na. So version 1 to, and then we spawn up a new instance na version 2. Ang gagawin naman niya is rolling update pa rin, pero meron na tayong startup na instance. Then mag-switch over yung mga routes dun sa new versions. Tapos mag-update lang siya na mag-update hanggang ma-complete natin. So, kuwari si 1, 2, 3, tapos si 4. Si 4 yung bago nating instance. And then nag-switch over siya to 2, 3, 4. Iniwanan na si 1. Tama ba yung count ko? Then, once na-update na natin lahat ng instance, for example, ang na-update na instance talaga is 2, 3, 4. Yung hindi na-update na, yung napag-iwanan is delete. So, yung explanation here is, yung deployment starts by launching new instances for this batch. Then, deployment continues with the next batch. And after the final batch na na-update na for that release, yung excess instance will be terminated. So, what we have to remember is app is still running at full capacity. May additional pa nga eh. And it has small additional cost, longer deployment, and I know that most na mga kilala ko is, or projects na alam ko is, this is good for production talaga. Since full capacity, tapos may version 2 ka na hindi pa napektuhan yung current environment natin. So that's for rolling with additional batch. And last na strategy or deployment method natin is immutable. So ito na yung pinaka-pricey natin, si immutable. So immutable spins up new instances in a new auto-scaling group. So as we can see, this is one auto-scaling group. Pero yung pinaka-bucket niya is to create a temporary auto-scaling group and then merge to the current auto-scaling group. So here, deployment starts by duplicating the instance and deploying the app in new instances. So kung kanina, nag-deploy lang tayo ng isang instance na extra for our deployment, dito, yung number ng instance na meron currently, yun din yung number ng instance na i-deploy natin. So it's very costly. Pero ang gagawin niya is magsi-switch over lang siya from V1 to V2. So after deployment succeeds, all instances are terminated and already routed na siya yung traffic on the V2. And on the back end, once okay na lahat, yung auto-scaling group na temporary will be deleted as well. So, yun yung 4 deployment methods natin. I've added this short chart to identify yung ano yung may malaking downtime. For example, so all at once natin. Tapos ano yung mga instances na may rollback process, zero downtime, deployment time. So we can review that. So that's for our deployment methods. Okay, so we're done with deployment. Yung pinaka-main service natin with deployment is Elastic Beanstalk. And then we have for CI/CD, continuous integration and continuous delivery naman for our topic. So the challenges of software delivery. Enterprises today face the challenge of rapidly changing competitive landscapes, evolving security requirements, and performance scalability. Enterprises must bridge the gap between operation stability and rapid feature development. Continuous integration and continuous delivery is a practice that enables rapid software changes while maintaining system stability and security. So I think this is one of the most used process talaga when it comes to DevOps, architect, even dev. Now we have to create automation tools or use services sa CI/CD natin para mas highly available, mas reliant yung mga release and deployments. So what is CI? So as part of the first item, CI yung pinaka-short or yung pinaka-first item natin sa CI/CD. It is a software development practice where developers regularly merge their code changes into a central repository. So a central repository, ito natin yung mga Bitbucket, GitHub natin na code changes. So this is the source code. And CI most often refers to the build and integration stage of the software release process and requires both an automation component and a cultural component. The key goal for CI are to find and address bugs more quickly, improve software quality, and reduce the time it takes to validate and release new software updates. For continuous integration, we focus on smaller commits and smaller code changes to integrate. A developer commits code at regular intervals. So when you say regular intervals, pwedeng by sprints or day-to-day, the developer pulls code from the code repository to ensure the code on localhost is merged before pushing to the build server. At this stage, the build server runs the various tests and either accepts or rejects the code commit. So later we'll discuss ano yung CI na ginagamit natin na service for AWS. First, continuous delivery. Continuous delivery is a software development practice where code changes are automatically built, tested, and prepared for production releases. So ito ni continuous yung next part ng CI/CD. It expands on continuous integration by deploying all code changes from test environment up to production, and both after the build stage has completed. Continuous delivery can be fully automated with a workflow or partially automated with manual steps at critical points. When continuous delivery is properly implemented and developers always have a deployment-ready build artifact that has passed through a standardized test process. So that is what CD. We'll discuss yung difference ni CD tsaka continuous delivery and continuous deployment. So with continuous deployment naman, revisions are deployed to a production environment automatically without explicit approval from a developer, making the entire software release process automated. This in turn allows the continuous customer feedback loop early in the production lifecycle. So, ang main point ni skip ko siya bigas sa end. So, ang main difference ni continuous delivery and continuous deployment here in the diagram. So, from dev to production, si continuous delivery still needs approval from dev or business before it deploys to production. While kay continuous deployment, automatic na siya, as in, dire-diretso na siya. Umabot na siya ng production. So, that's the main difference with CD. So here, yung software lifecycle natin. Continuous integration, continuous delivery, continuous deployment. And yung mga automated process natin could be from source control, yung commit changes ni dev. Then we have builds, run ng build packages and unit tests. Then staging for deployment K-test environment and integration for unit testing, load testing, and then deployment to production. So here is our first CI/CD na AWS service, which is code commit. So ito yung CI na service natin. So AWS code commit is a fully managed source control service, hosts secure Git-based repositories, works seamlessly with existing Git tools, and for every active user, yung cost niya is your account also receives pala ng additional allowance na 10 gig per month of storage and 2,000 Git requests for that month. The costing would be $1 per active user per month, and additional usage will be charged at $0.06 per GB per month, and per Git request, $0.001. So that's our costing for code commit. So reminders na repository or Git source code talaga si code commit. So let's review.
Your code is valuable. As your application's code base grows and your development team gets larger, finding a highly available and secure way to store and version code can become difficult and costly. Wouldn't it be nice if you could just focus on securely developing apps and not have to worry about managing and scaling your source control system? Better yet, what if you could do all of this while continuing to use your existing Git tools? Introducing AWS Code Commit, a fully managed source control service in the cloud that makes it easy for companies to host secure, highly scalable, private Git repositories. Code Commit eliminates the need to set up, manage, and scale your own source control system. There is no hardware to manage or software to patch and update, and you don't have to worry about running out of space. Code Commit is built on a highly redundant and durable architecture, keeping your repositories highly available and accessible. As your project grows and the number and size of your repositories increases, Code Commit automatically scales, so you never run out of space. With Code Commit, you can store code, binaries, images, and libraries, and more. AWS Code Commit automatically encrypts your files in transit and at rest, so you don't have to worry about your code's privacy and security. Code Commit works with your existing Git tools and offers extensibility through webhooks that integrate with your existing processes. This lets you trigger AWS Lambda functions or push notifications, such as SMS or email, in response to events in your repositories. Code Commit is integrated with AWS Identity and Access Management, allowing you to assign user-specific permissions to your repositories so that you can control and monitor who can access your data, as well as how, when, and where they can access it. Code Commit works with your existing Git graphical clients and tools. This allows you to use your existing development environment plugins, continuous integration and continuous delivery systems, and graphical clients with Code Commit. With AWS Code Commit, you pay per active user per month. If needed, extra storage and Git requests are available at additional charge. There are no upfront fees and no setup costs. Get started on AWS Code Commit with a few clicks in the AWS Management Console.
Okay. Let's move on to another service. We have AWS Code Build. So AWS Code Build is a fully managed continuous integration service. It compiles source code, runs tests, and produces software packages. It is a pre-configured environment for supported versions of Java, Ruby, Python, Go, Node.js, Android, .NET Core, PHP, and Docker. And we could integrate Code Build with Jenkins. So if anyone's familiar with Jenkins for automation, it can be used for integrated code build into your Jenkins jobs. And yung payment or cost niya would be via pay by minute for compute resources. So this is more on compiled source code, unit testing, simang, ganon for code build. And here is a short preview of code build.
To keep up with the competition, software development teams need to be able to deliver new features with speed and agility. This includes being able to rapidly build and test code. But far too often, there are bottlenecks that needlessly slow teams down. Developers have to wait on long build queues, while ops engineers have to deal with scaling, configuring, and maintaining build servers. Wouldn't it be nice if there was a quick and easy way to build and test your code? Introducing AWS Code Build. Code Build is a fully managed continuous integration service that compiles source code, runs tests, and produces build artifacts. Your team simply commit code changes, and Code Build scales continuously to handle concurrent jobs, eliminating queue times. Additionally, you pay for only the build minutes you use, so there's no more paying for idle time. Code Build is easy to set up. You can bring your own build environment or use one of the pre-configured environments. Code Build works with your existing tools too. For example, the Jenkins plugin makes it easy to keep your Jenkins server and use Code Build as your worker nodes. Get started today at aws.amazon.com/codebuild.
Okay. Let's move on to the next. We have AWS Code Deploy. So from its name, deploy, fully managed deployment service. Deployment group targets services like Amazon EC2, AWS Fargate, AWS Lambda, and on-premise. The deployment lifecycle goes into application stop, download bundle, before install, install during, after install, application start, and validate service. So with code deploy, ito na yung pinaka-deployment na service natin. So we had code commit, code build, code deploy, and later we'll have code pipeline.
The dream of the developer. Write code, test it, seamlessly push it in production, and repeat. But the reality isn't quite like that. Manually deploying to lots of servers can take a long time and often results in errors that can lead to downtime. Wiring together your own automated deployment process can be complex and hard to maintain. Wouldn't it be nice if you can automate the deployment of your application into production so you can rapidly release new features? Introducing AWS Code Deploy, a service that coordinates your application deployments and updates across a fleet of Amazon EC2 instances of any size. AWS Code Deploy fully automates your application deployments, getting rid of the need to do things manually. AWS Code Deploy works with any application files and deployment scripts, and it is also easy to integrate with your existing software release process or continuous delivery toolchain. The same setup code you use to deploy revision to your development instance for debugging is used to deploy to staging for testing, and then used to deploy to production for release to customers. You can use whether you have a couple of instances or thousands, because it removes the hassle of manually coordinating a deployment and keeping track of each instance. You can have the confidence that AWS Code Deploy will deploy the same application revision across all your different environments consistently. AWS Code Deploy keeps your application highly available by performing rolling updates across your fleet and tracking application health according to configurable rules. This helps keep your customers happy by avoiding downtime. And best of all, there's no additional charge for AWS Code Deploy. You just pay for the AWS resources needed to run and store your application. Visit the AWS Management Console to begin automating your application deployments today with AWS Code Deploy.
Okay, that's AWS Code Deploy. We move on to AWS Code Pipeline. So AWS Code Pipeline is a fully managed continuous delivery service. It is a release pipeline for fast and reliable application and infrastructure updates. And it is integrate Code Pipeline with other third-party services such as GitHub and other custom plugins. So we have a diagram next here. Okay, so what Code Pipeline is, it is like a workflow for all of your AWS services for CI/CD. So here we could see AWS code commit, where the repo changes are monitored using CloudWatch, and you could specify by branch, and the amount changes of our source code will be saved, for example, here for S3 bucket. And once ready, we pull source files onto code build. So we had code commit, then code build, which will build our source and push to S3 as zip or tar na file type. Then after code build, we have code deploy, which will deploy those changes to EC2 instances. So here, common AWS code deploy application within code deploy group per branch. So once done na, ready na siya sa application natin. And what code pipeline does, for example, yun sa code delivery natin, we could add another service bago siya mag-deploy kay EC2 or kay code deploy or code pipeline. So it is code pipeline per branch with source, build, deploy stages connected using input and output artifacts. So we could add services using code pipeline. And yung mga plugins na na-mention o go with example is GitHub. So that's code pipeline. Here's a short tip.
In today's world, your applications must evolve quickly to meet your customers' needs. Improving and releasing software at a fast pace to meet customer needs is at the core of every successful business, making agility and time to market essential to maintaining your competitive advantage. Companies that can rapidly deliver updates, innovate faster, adapt to changing markets more easily, and drive better business results. But quickly delivering updates, such as new features or bug fixes, can be difficult and error-prone using traditional software release processes, where code updates are manually and infrequently moved from development to testing and finally to production. What if the entire software release process were automated, allowing you to test and release code more frequently? Introducing AWS Code Pipeline, a continuous delivery service for fast and reliable application updates. With continuous delivery, your code updates are automatically built, tested, and made ready to deploy. Code Pipeline lets you model, visualize, and automate your software release process through a simple-to-use graphical user interface or with a command line interface. You model your software release process as a workflow made of different stages, or a pipeline, which describes how new code changes progress through your release process. At each stage, you choose the actions that are performed on your code, such as how and where your code is built, tested, and deployed. When your pipeline is active, every code change made to your source repository is automatically pushed through the set of actions you defined, so that code updates are run through a standardized process after every commit. Code Pipeline lets you set manual approvals at each stage of your pipeline, so that approvers can review and then approve or reject updates before they progress down your pipeline. Code Pipeline also automatically stops your pipeline whenever an action fails, such as a unit test failure. This automation allows you to test your code more frequently and catch bugs while they are small and simple to fix. Once your release process has been automated, it becomes easier to build, test, and deploy updates more frequently. This allows you to focus on improving your core product. Code Pipeline is extensible and works with a variety of source code, build, testing, and deployment tools from AWS or third parties, enabling you to use different services in each stage of your pipeline. For example, you can use AWS Code Commit as your source repository or AWS Code Deploy for automated code deployments to your instances. Code Pipeline allows you to invoke custom logic using AWS Lambda during any stage of your pipeline. You can also use popular third-party developer tools via pre-built plugins or create your own custom plugins and actions, enabling you to customize your pipeline to meet your specific needs. Code Pipeline uses AWS Identity and Access Management to manage who can make changes to your release workflow, keeping your software release pipeline secure. With Code Pipeline, you only pay per active pipeline per month. There are no upfront fees and no setup costs. Get started on AWS Code Pipeline with a few clicks in the AWS Management Console.
Okay, Code Pipeline. So next would be, we're done with our main parts of CI/CD. We still have one service here, which is AWS CodeStar. So AWS CodeStar provides the tool you need to quickly develop, build, and deploy application on AWS. variety of project templates to start developing applications on Amazon EC2, Lambda, and Beanstalk. And Kido's Gold Star project supports many popular programming languages such as Java, JavaScript, PHP, Ruby, and Python. And you could integrate it to Jira, which is yung ticketing system natin, to track and manage for project management for our Jira issues or the dashboard. So for CodeStar, from what I've seen, CodeStar is like a workspace. So you set up your programming language, yung IDE mo for your team's project. So we have a few UI of CodeStar here in the next pages. So here, with AWS CodeStar, you may choose your application template. You can see may Node.js, Python, JavaScripting. You could also get yung IDE na preferred nyo, and then create a team project, and where you could add yung users and yung permissions nila. So here, example is, role is owner, contributor, viewer, and add public SSH key and other grant access that you could have. And for the project as well, you could utilize yung mga services. So here, yung code commit, code build, CloudFormation, and CloudWatch services could be used for these projects, AWS Code Pipeline. So that's how we have or utilize AWS CodeStar. Let's view an introduction here.
And with that, I'm announcing today a new product from AWS. It's called AWS CodeStar that helps you to really simplify development. Yeah? It allows you to very quickly develop, build, and deploy applications on AWS. Yeah, it starts with a whole new integrated environment where you can basically pick what kind of project that you have, the targets that you have in that particular case. You can use it, you can build a Lambda application, you can build a Beanstalk application or run it on EC2. Yeah, and you can set up security in a matter of minutes, really finding role-based access for how your team members can access these services. And you can integrate it with a continuous integration development. So that's all very abstract, of course, if I say it like that. But let's take a look at how this looks like. Yeah? You start your project with picking a template. Yeah, there's over 20 templates in the where we start off with, different programming languages, different target environments. Yeah, and even AWS Lambda is a target environment for you there. Yeah, and you can, so next step is you set up your team access, you build out the roles that different people in your team have, what access do they have, what kind of controls do you want to have in place, and then you configure your continuous integration pipeline for you, and all the tools underneath that get configured for you. Then you connect your IDE to it, and you start building your code. Yeah. And then we give you this monitoring and management environment with that, where you can actually monitor and manage the continuous integration environment that you've built. So making it really easy for you to actually go from the beginning of your development process to immediately starting integration and development. The cool thing of all this is actually that Lambda is one of the targets there, so you can immediately set up continuous integration and deployment towards Lambda as one of your target environments to use them.
Okay. So that's CodeStar. So we're done with our deployments and CI/CD topics. We're going to move on to backup and restore and focus on concept on DR and yung backup and restore natin ng snapshots. So here, definition of this disaster recovery. So disaster recovery is about disaster preparedness. Any incident that has adverse effect on the stability or operations of the company's business, including equipment or software malfunction, network malfunction, power loss, physical harm, fire or flood, human error, and any major occurrences. So when it comes naman kay AWS Cloud, yung backup and disaster no longer needs physical infrastructure. So we have AWS backup later to discuss the service, but let's first define what recovery and yung mga main knowledge na dapat meron tayo when it comes to TR. So first we have RTO and RTO. So here is RPO, recovery point objective. It is the maximum targeted period in which data or transactions might be lost from an IT service due to a major incident. So what questions we usually ask during this time is, ano yung mga data na nawala or gano'ng kalaki yung impact niya, and how much money have we lost or spent on the backup project. So if we ignore yung RPO or yung recovery point objective, we won't meet business continuity, magkakaroon ng data loss, pwede magkaroon ng discrepancy dun sa data na meron tayo currently, since baka magkaroon ng double entry. So we want to avoid that. So ang main term natin for RPO is data loss. Then we have RTO, recovery time objective. This is the time it takes after a disruption to restore a business process to its service level, as defined by operational level or OLA. Our main questions now we ask is, how quickly you need to recover? How long can the application be unavailable? And how critical is our time? So since recovery time objective siya, if we ignore, we won't be able to manage yung mga downtime natin in the future. And mababawasan tayo customers, and since may competition with highly available systems. So very important yung recovery natin when it comes to highly available applications. So recovery period is the term for RTO. Okay, so here for RPO and RTO. So yung diagram na to showing the time that the actual incident occurred. So this is all of the actual data loss that we have with the details for RPO. And then after incidents, we have to recover the system. So recovery period for RTO would be here. Yung system operational natin with that data time point will be concerning siya since malaki yung kailangan natin i-backup na item. So RPO represents how fresh recovered data will be. So yung practice natin is that RPO indicates the amount of data or yung updated or created na mawawala or will be lost during that outage. And then recovery time is the amount of downtime on a business that they can tolerate. So makita natin yung pinaka-period and yung services na kailangan natin i-prioritize when it comes to RPO and RTO. So we need to identify yung length. Much better kung shorter yung recovery time. So it will cost directly pag may changes with the RPO and RTO lengths. We'll discuss this with AWS Backup later. Next, common backup methods. We have unstructured, fully or only, system imaging, incremental, differential, and near CDP. Main items dito siguro is incremental and differential, which is ma-remember natin yung difference niya. Pero first, unstructured. So since unstructured backup method siya, so we only have minimal information dun sa RPO, RTO. Kaya ang backup natin is very unknown or hindi siya defined. So hindi natin make sure na backup talaga natin siya fully. So very unstructured. Minimal information. Then fully only and system imaging is a repository using this backup method contains complete source data copies taken at one or more specific points in time. So here, na-identify na natin kung kailan na backup yung items na to or yung backup method na to. So unstructured, unknown. Dito we have a specific point in time or multiple copies. Then yung third backup method natin, which is incremental, which is yung mga snapshots natin. Incremental is snapshots. It is an incremental backup stores data change since a reference point in time. So when we have this data backup from a reference point in time, ma-avoid natin yung duplicate copies or duplicate entries ng data natin. So, as said, duplicate copies of unchanged data aren't copied when it comes to incremental. We only get the changes. Then, for differential, a differential backup saves only the data that has been changed since the last full backup. So it will also save the copy of previous backups. In the next slide, we have the differentiator of incremental and differential. Then the last is near CDP or continuous data protection. This refers to a backup that is instantly saves as a copy of every change made to the data. It allows restoration of data to any point in time and is the most comprehensive and advanced data protection. So that's our common backup methods. So here we have the difference with incremental and differential. So itong blue, si incremental at the top and differential is at the bottom. So let's read first that you can back up the data on your Amazon EBS or yung Blackstore volumes to Amazon S3 by taking point-in-time snapshots. So when we call it snapshots, they are actually incremental backups, which means that only the blocks on the device that have changed after your most recent snapshots are saved. So example here, sa pinaka-diagram natin is yung second backup natin, ganito yung capacity niya, third backup, ganito yung capacity niya. Nasa same level lang, hindi siya increasing or sobra sa previous since hindi naman natin kinukuha yung previous backup since ang pinabackup na natin yung mga changes. While sa differential, we still keep the backup sa previous. So itong si second backup, may isa, third backup, dalawa na sa kanya since kinuha pa niya second. So tapos kay fourth backup, kinuha niya din kay third. So yung difference kay differential, just incremental. Okay, check kung may questions sa lapan. But feel free to ask questions as we go through. Then on-premise backup to cloud. Just a quick overview. So when we back up from on-prem to cloud, there are some of the service that we could use. So pag online, pag offline, tsaka pag hybrid. So pag online data transfer, we could use AWS DX or Direct Connect. Ito yung network service na nagpo-provide na alternative to using internet when utilizing AWS services. Then we could use S3 Accelerated, we could use Kinesis Firehouse, Data Sync, and we could also have transfer for SFTP. So that's for online data transfer. While for offline data transfer, we have Snowball or Snowmobile. And lastly, yung hybrid natin, we have storage gateway. So that's how we back up on-prem to cloud, mga services na to. Then we have DR methods. So we have a few slides for this para ma-differentiate natin yung cold, pilot light, warm standby, hot. So cold, only data is copied. Infrastructure is to be deployed in CloudFormation. Pilot light, infrastructure is stopped and is ready to start. Then warm standby, partially running, but it has a fully working low capacity standby. And for hot, multi-site, active, which absorbs most of the requests immediately. So later, makita natin yung difference nila from pricing and functions. And yung difference niya sa RTO, RPO. So here, ascending levels of DR options. So backup and restore, backup of on-premise data to AWS to use in your event. Nakita natin na yung hours are different for each DR options natin. So here, mas less cost, nakita natin less cost, pero mas timely, mas matagal yung recovery time or also ito 24 hours for backup and restore. Then we have pilot light. Ang gawa ng pilot light is we replicate data and minimal running service into AWS, ready to take over and flare up. So here, mas mababa yung RTO natin and yung RPO, but it costs more. Tapos dagdag pa tayo ng mas costly, which is yung warm standby. So with warm standby, replicate data and service into AWS ready to take over. So sobrang shorter na yung time niya. Nasa minutes na when it comes to RTO, and RPO 1 to 4 hours. And cost is still tumataas, syempre. And yung pinaka costly, which is hot site, is only in minutes. So you replicate and load balance environments that are both actively taking production traffic. RPO is only in minutes, less than 15 minutes. RTO is 0 to 5 minutes. So yung cost niya, higher talaga. So that's the ascending levels of their options. So here are some of the services that we use for the solution for backup, pilot light, warm standby, and hot standby. So backup and restore, alam natin yung hours niya, pero ang function is for low priority use cases. Ang solution is to use storage gateway, S3, Route 53, launch ng SDDC in response to their event. Then for pilot light, ang ginagamit natin siya usually for meeting lower RTO and RPO requirements. And solution is storage gateway, S3, DMS, EC2, Route 53, launch SDDC. And then for warm standby, which is more costly and runs only in minutes, yung RPO and RTO niya is solution that required only minutes para makapag-recover yung pinaka-application natin. So solution, S3, DMS, EC2, Direct Connect, DX, Route 53, SDDC. And hot standby, which is yung pinaka-costly, is only in seconds and in real time yung pag-recover niya, is auto failover of the environment in SDDC, and solution is Route 53, Direct Connect, and SDDC. So that's the difference of our methods on DR. So ito na yung backup natin service for AWS. So AWS Backup is a fully managed backup service that makes it easy to centralize and automate the backup of data across AWS services. So centrally configure backup policies and monitor backup activities for AWS resources. So here are the AWS resources. We could have it for Amazon EBS volumes, EC2 instances, RDS databases, DynamoDB tables, EFS file system, and storage gateway volumes. And main priority is to backup plans and backup faults. So that is AWS Backup. Here's a short clip of AWS Backup.
AWS Backup is the simplest way to manage backups in AWS. It's a centralized backup service that provides an easy and cost-effective way to automatically protect your application data across AWS services in the AWS cloud and on-premises using AWS Storage Gateway. AWS Backup provides a central console where you can manage the backups of all the AWS resources your application relies on, such as EBS volumes, RDS databases, EFS file systems, and more. You can configure and audit the AWS resources you want backed up, automate backup scheduling, set retention policies, and monitor all recent backup and restore activity. AWS Backup is easy to set up. Simply go to AWS Backup Management Console, and with just a few clicks, you can create a policy called a backup plan that defines how frequently to back up your AWS resources and how long to store those backups. You then assign your AWS resources to backup plans using tags, and AWS Backup will start automatically backing up your AWS resources and managing backup retention on your behalf according to rules you define. AWS Backup streamlines business and regulatory backup compliance by providing a single centralized backup console, set of APIs, and CLI to manage and audit all your backups in AWS. With all your backups in one place, it's easy to find the backups you need when you need them, and audit which of your resources are protected and how they are being backed up to ensure compliance. AWS Backup is a fully managed service that scales up and down based on your backup needs. There is no setup cost for AWS Backup, and you pay for only what you use. To get started, visit aws.amazon.com/backup and create your first backup plan using AWS Backup in just a few clicks.
Okay, so that is AWS Backup for actually we're almost done sa presentation natin. And the last item is other AWS services. We will discuss yung analytics, mobile, machine learning, enterprise. Actually, i-define lang natin ano yung mga services na available for each category. So let's start with analytics. So we have Athena, EMR, Cloud Search, Open Search Service, Elasticsearch, which is discontinued already. Kinesis, QuickSight, Data Pipeline, AWS Data Exchange, AWS Glue, AWS Lake Formation, and MSK. So when reviewing for SS Solutions Architect Associate, it is best na ma-define mo siya even in phrases. So, for example, yung services natin for commit, AWS Code Commit. So, remembering lang yung short phrases na yon, mas ma-answeran mo agad yung mga services. So, have a well-defined list of services to review before your exam siguro. And this is an example for AWS Analytics. So, AWS Analytics, yung mga services natin is, yung purpose niya is to build and extract data insight to optimize yung best performance natin for scaling and cost needs. So we have the following analytics that we can use. Then here's a short clip.
Data volumes are increasing at an unprecedented rate, exploding from terabytes to even exabytes of data. To help manage these increases, many companies are taking their data from silos and aggregating it in one location, a data lake, to do analytics and machine learning. They're also using purpose-built data stores, such as data warehouses, to get quick results for complex queries. And that data can be moved in multiple ways. It can move inside out, where, for example, it moves from the data lake to a data warehouse. Outside in, where data moves in the opposite direction. And around the perimeter, from one data store to another. That's a lot of movement. And that's why you need a modern data strategy on AWS. It's all about integrating a data lake, a data warehouse, and purpose-built stores, enabling unified governance and easy data movement. At the center are scalable data lakes. Amazon S3 is built to store and retrieve any amount of data with unmatched availability. Then there are the purpose-built data services. Amazon Redshift provides super fast results to complex queries. Amazon OpenSearch Service lets you quickly log and search analytics. And Amazon EMR makes it easy to process petabyte-scaled data. AWS offers these services and more, including relational and non-relational databases, as well as interactive query tools. AWS also allows you to easily move data between the data lakes and purpose-built data services, enabling easy data access wherever it's needed. With all these features, governance is easier too. You can enforce access controls from a single place for all services. On top of all this, you can get the best performance at the lowest cost. And AWS is continually innovating to improve the price performance of our services. A modern data strategy on AWS will help you get insight from all your data to all your users, allowing you to build for the future. To learn more, go to aws.amazon.com/analytics.
Those are analytics services. Okay, we'll go into the next, which is AWS Mobile Services. So AWS Mobile Services, yung purpose niya is to have offline data synchronization, storage, data sharing across multiple users, and pag-set up and manage ng multiple services in the back end. So here are some of it. AWS Amplify, Mobile Hub, AWS AppSync, Device Farm. This Device Farm is for unit testing. So pwedeng ma-include to sa code pipeline na if nag-fail, it will not continue with the deployment. Then Cognito for security. So that's AWS Mobile Services. And here's a short clip.
Happy to announce the AWS Mobile Hub, which helps you build your mobile applications really quickly. So the 3 steps in the mobile hub. Yeah? First of all, you decide what kind of functionality you want to build. Yeah? You pick which services you want to run. So these are the different steps that you often have to take care of, think about when you're building your mobile applications. So how do my customers sign in? Yeah? What kind of push notifications do I want to do? How do I get content onto my device? Yeah? What do you need to store? What kind of analytics do you want to do? And what kind of logic do you want to run to actually have the core of your applications? All of these different steps are helping, we are going to help you with, we're guiding you through the process, so it's that automatically your resources will be configured for you, and you only have to think about building your cloud logic, dropping your code there in Lambda, to make it really easy for you to build your backend processes for your mobile application. And what you see then is, once you actually have gone through those steps, with one click of a button, we will generate the application for you, and you can download that code to actually just immediately compile it for your iOS or for your Android application. This is really going to help you speed up your mobile development, so that you only have to focus on the functionality that you really want to deliver to your customers, not have to think about what is all the back-end processing that I need to do. So it makes it easier for mobile developers to really get started by having the cloud as their back-end service.
Okay, we're on to our last 4 slides. So that's mobile services. And then we have machine learning. So machine learning, main item niya is to allow developers to discover end-user pattern using algorithms, mathematical constructs, tapos other predicative patterns. So we have Amazon SageMaker, Comprehend, Forecast, machine learning already discontinued, personalized deep lens, deep tracer, Lex, Poly, recognition, extract, transcribe, translate. Remember, Poly is voice service. So kung may gusto kayo ng voice na for American, US, male, ganon, may available na voice sila doon. So that's machine learning services. Let's have a quick overview here.
Businesses have found new ways to leverage machine learning for applications such as recommendation engines, object detection, voice assistance, fraud detection, and more. Although the use of machine learning is gaining traction, long development time, high cost, the need for agility, and high complexity are key barriers that prevent use of machine learning from becoming even more widespread. For the fastest and easiest way to get started using machine learning, AWS offers Amazon SageMaker, a fully managed machine learning service. For more customized machine learning projects, AWS Machine Learning Infrastructure delivers a range of options to you. AWS Machine Learning Infrastructure Services remove the barriers to adoption of machine learning with cost-effective, high-performance options that are agile and easy to use for beginners and experts alike. With AWS ML Infrastructure, organizations can get the right amount of compute, storage, and networking performance for any use case and budget. For fast model training that reduces training time from days to minutes, EC2 P3 and P3DN instances offer the highest performance GPU training instances in the cloud. For small-scale or entry-level machine learning training, EC2 G4 instances can be a cost-effective solution. For high-performance inference, EC2 Inf1 instances with AWS-developed Inferentia custom chips deliver high throughput and low latency with the lowest cost per inference in the cloud. For GPU-based inference, EC2 G4 instances enable use of NVIDIA libraries. For inference that uses Intel AVX 512 instructions, EC2 C5 instances are a good solution. For cost-effective shared file storage of large amounts of data needed to train models, Amazon S3 is a great solution. To further increase storage performance, Amazon FSx for Lustre delivers shared file storage with high throughput and consistent low latencies. AWS was first in the cloud to offer 100 gigabits per second per instance of network bandwidth. For large-scale multi-node deployments, Elastic Fabric Adapter provides a low-latency, low-jitter channel for inter-instance communications. For highly scalable Kubernetes orchestration, you can use Amazon Elastic Kubernetes Service to efficiently run distributed training jobs. In addition, AWS offers different pricing plans to meet the needs of any organization. Business conditions constantly change, and AWS ML infrastructure can change with it. Whether it's scaling up or down as needed, choosing different ML frameworks, or changing geographic locations, AWS ML infrastructure can adapt to meet your needs. The fastest way to get started using all of this powerful machine learning infrastructure is by using Amazon SageMaker. SageMaker enables you to develop high-quality models by providing all of the components required for machine learning in a fully managed experience, so models get to production faster with much less effort and at lower cost. AWS provides the broadest selection of machine learning compute, networking, and storage infrastructure to meet the needs of any machine learning initiative, all with a pay-as-you-go cost model. To learn more, visit our website.
Okay, on to our last services, which is enterprise and business. So we have Amazon Connect, InPoint, Simple Email Service, Alexa for Business, Amazon Chime, Work Email, Workspace, AppStream, WorkDocs, and WorkLink. So it's all for business. So anyone, even non-tech workers will be able to use it. So I think have this last clip more and then we're done for the presentation.
You've got great ideas to solve real problems and good developers to make your ideas a reality. Now you need a way to scale up your application so everyone can use it. Amazon Web Services is here to help. Amazon Web Services enables you to run your application in the cloud, which means you get the benefits of low-cost, flexible infrastructure with the ability to use your existing tools and skills to deliver sophisticated and scalable applications. Let's look at how Amazon Web Services makes building and scaling web applications easier. With AWS, you get complete control of your resources, so you can start building your application with the technology you're most familiar with. With many virtual servers to choose from, you can pick the kind of server that's right for you, whether you need a very small instance or a large cluster of servers. You can even choose specialized servers optimized for lots of disk space, lots of memory, or even special graphics chips. With AWS, you also get the flexibility to choose the operating system, language, and tools that are right for you. You can store your data on any database you like. You can even let AWS manage the database for you with AWS's Relational Database Service, or use AWS's Managed NoSQL service to achieve fast, single-digit millisecond latency access to your data. You get to focus on making your web app great, while Amazon Web Services takes care of the work needed to run your operations, so you never have to worry about managing a server closet, finding a colo operator, or building a data center. Running facilities and utilities while racking and stacking servers is all taken care of. Even better, AWS makes these resources available right away, so you're never waiting weeks or months for purchasing, delivery, and provisioning, meaning that your project timelines can shorten and you can get to market faster. This quick access to new resources means you can experiment with new architectures and technologies without having to impact your production environment or buy new testing hardware. AWS also gives you access to a vast amount of resources, so you don't have to have a big budget to have a highly available architecture that can keep your site running well, even if disaster strikes. AWS provides auto-scaling, so your application can elastically grow and shrink with demand. This means you can handle a huge increase in traffic when your app goes viral, but also can automatically turn off resources when they aren't needed, like when your users are sleeping. AWS's low-cost, pay-only-for-what-you-use pricing model means this elasticity can save you a bundle. There are no upfront costs and no long-term contracts to keep you from getting started or lock you in. Using Amazon Web Services is like having an IT infrastructure group that always says, yes, we can do that. It'll be ready for you in just a minute. Amazon Web Services can even do all the infrastructure provisioning for you. You can just point to your Git repository or upload your code, and AWS handles the rest, all at no additional cost. Getting started with Amazon Web Services is easy. Just go to the Amazon Web Services website and click on the Sign Up button. You'll get access to all of the AWS cloud services, along with great benefits like a free year's worth of a machine running in the cloud, a free year's worth of database access, free storage, bandwidth, archiving, caching, and much more. Want to know more about web apps and what Amazon Web Services can do for your applications? Just visit our website at aws.amazon.com/websites to learn more and get started today.
Okay, so that's our last. Does anyone have any questions? And we've overtime for 22 minutes now.
Overwhelmed na ba kayo? Feel free to ask questions, any AWS service that medyo hindi clear sa inyo.
Yung tips for SAE. Ako yung nag-take ako. I have a lot of index card talaga for each AWS service. So, ang main priority ko noon is to identify each services. Para may mga container service, kailangan ma-identify mo sila differently Yung isa, open source tool. Yung isa, for AWS talaga, you could use for Docker. So those are the items na you should be able to identify. And regarding sa pinaka-operations or ang goal is dapat kaya mo mag-provide ng highly available or scalable na model. So, meron ka ng mga backups, meron kang auto-scaling groups. So, you have to really know the process niya, paano maging highly available and scalable yung system. Kasi, syempre, Sol Arc, you have to find services for your solutions and make your system very available for all users. So, yeah. Other tips, baka makapag-send ako ng URL, I still have to compile. Nag-ano ako, Udemy, a Cloud Guru, tas tutorials dojo when I was learning. Yung pinaka-main is Udemy. When I was taking Udemy, may parang 5 sets of practice exams doon. And when nalaman ko na ready na ako when I was able to get 85% passing dun sa lahat ng exam na yon. So, without cheats So, ayan, practice exam, and pag nakita mo confident ka na tipong nakita mo lang yung question, alam mo na yung sagot. Parang gano'n, within a minute. Parang, ayan, feeling ko good na yun to go to take the exam. And then, huwag kabahan kasi, ayan, nakakaba yung exam, pero once na alam mo talaga yung mga services, it's all right na. That's my tip. Maybe send ko na lang din yung mga reference na ginamit ko later. Compile ko lang. Okay. Other questions? Wala naman natin. For the next module, tama ba, Ms. Jel, na ano naman siya, own practice. May mga practice exam na available, right? Sa next one.
We'll email it to them na lang. So this will be our last session. Kaya i-maximize niyo yung questions niyo kay Maine. How long did you prepare for SAA? And from cloud practitioner to SAA, ilang months yung gap ng certifications mo?
Actually, ma'am, hindi ako nag-take nung cloud practitioner. Kasi nag-SSA agad ako. Pero nung available sa user group, si cloud practitioner lang. So, under Sir Rafi yung nag-mentor nung mga gantong presentation. So, yun na in-attended ko, cloud practitioner. Tapos, within 3 months, doon ako nag-take. Basta, araw-araw ka talaga mag-review. Makita yung mga services na ma-identify mo. So, yun. And so, 3 months, 6 months. May ibang ako kilala, parang within the month, nag-take na sila. So, basta confident ka naman to answer.
The suggestion nga is para habang fresh sa memory mo yung mga services, parang take na. Kasi the longer you wait, parang may tendency na makakalimutan mo na siya.
Yes, mas magiging confusing na nga. Sa Udemy, yung maraming sample practice sa tutorials dojo, hindi siya same na questions talaga. Syempre, hindi mo tayo mag-cheat sa SAA. Pero yung pinaka method of questioning niya nandun. Correct. Kay DynamoDB, ano yung caching na available. Tapos may mga option doon. So, DAX. So, that's how I practice test is yes.
Yeah, wait. Let me look for that one. Alam ko may practice test ngayon si AWS. Kasi may global challenge for SAP.
That's practice test, white papers. Kasi makita mo doon yung mga AWS service na kailangan mo i-review. Okay, may questions pa ba? Send lang daw ni Ma'am Shell yung practice test.
Yes.
Nakita ko atang shinare ni Ma'am Kay yun sa LinkedIn eh.
Oo. I actually registered for that as well. I'll send the link na lang. I just couldn't find it right now. Let's take a quick picture together. And then Main, thank you very much for your time. We really appreciate it. I know it's a Sunday and everyone who stayed all throughout the Sundays CCP and yung SAA mentoring natin. So thank you very much sa inyo and good luck. Ayan. Wait, let's take a picture. Ay, yung iba pala nakaalis na, sayang.
Sana ba?
Ready? 1, 2, 3. One more, just to be sure. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Thank you everyone. I'll share this
Thank you.
link and the materials. Thank you. Thanks, Main.
Thank you.